I'm going to try this again. Let's see. And I'm sorry, I ended up deleting all your comments when I closed out. Gonna see if, okay, that sounds better, right? So that was crazy. There was like, I don't know how many, there was a lot of feedback going on there. So hopefully you guys can, hear me now. Yay, okay, great. I didn't mess everything up. All right. I was like, everybody disappeared, and I'm like, oh, great. So, and I guess I logged everybody off, so I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know why I did that. The only other time I've had it do that is when there have been windows open, other windows open on the computer, and then they give like this constant feedback thing. That was wild. I meant to bring in a little microphone tonight because I did a presentation yesterday. I don't know if any of you were in that. It was for the Delaware Valley Historic Sampler Guild. Hey, Beth. Hey, Inez. Hey, Linda. I saw Barbara on here earlier. I'm sure she'll be back. Hey, Linda C. from Florida. Hey, Jill. And yesterday I was holding up some things in front of me, and it was in Zoom, and this is not actually Zoom. This is a different program. And because I held it in front of my face, they couldn't hear me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to start getting more professional. But so, hey, Deb. Hey, Joe. Hey, Rose. I'm so glad you guys came. And I know I've been terrible about it. I know I will tell you why. Hey, Susan. Hey, Susan, I saw your email yesterday. So I'll take care of that for you tomorrow. Be fun. Um, And I will give you an update on the Baird House, but I'm going to do it at 8:30. So if somebody will remind me that it's at 8:30, that way everybody will be here. And you can all hear the same thing at the same time. So, well, thank you for coming back. So, I was thinking before this, this is a new t-shirt. Beth will recognize it. Oh, well, she won't because you can't see it. It's Calamity Wear. And so there's this, it's called Things Could Be Worse. And so there's this whole, like, they do all kinds of funny things, but you see there's a Sasquatch on there, and a dinosaur, and a pterodactyl, and a giant frog, and a zombie poodle. And so I bought the shirt because I started thinking, the shop's going to open soon, and I need some new clothes. And so it was kind of cool. I was thinking about it tonight. I was like, when I had to buy new clothes for my old job, it cost me a fortune, and it was all business clothes, like suit pants and jackets and long sleeve, really, nice shirts and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was a constant process all the time. You were buying clothes and buying clothes. You just had to keep up. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. Here I am just thinking about, I think I need some new t-shirts for work. I was like, yes, I have made it. So, hey, Lisa. Hey, Barbara. Yay. So, lots of things have been going on since the last time I talked to you. The biggest thing is I was in kind of a funk. I was in a little bit of a funk because things just weren't happening that needed to happen. And quite honestly, I should be used to that after the last couple of years, but I'm not. I don't like it. And so, things just weren't moving along, and it put me in kind of a funk. Hey, Sheila. And hey, Robbie. So I just kind of hibernated. and I stitched, have some things to show you, and I tried to get orders out and stuff, and I worked on the Baird House. But I just kind of hibernated. I kind of stayed out of public. Hey, Lori. And so, it's an interesting experience. I don't think I felt that kind of out of sorts in probably 15 years. So it was just weird. So I started thinking about, and I finally figured out, I think it's menopause. Menopause along with just being frustrated. So there was that fun thing. So I think I'm back on track now. Got to start exercising and losing some weight so I can fit into all my new t-shirts, So I am recording upstairs, and I threw this at Everett a couple days ago. We have a guest room up. We only have one guest bedroom in this house, believe it or not. And because it's not a huge house, but it's pretty good. It's bigger than it should be for two people. And hey, Cindy. And Emma has a room on the main level, and then we have a room, and then there's a loft upstairs, and the upstairs loft is my craft room. And right now, it's just my, it houses my collection. So I haven't really organized it because I'm afraid to do anything other than what has to be done. I feel guilty. Like, do you ever do that when you've got something that you need to do? Like, I know I need to get the shop ready and get everything done over there. And so I feel guilty if I do anything that's just for me. Like, organizing my craft room. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it until the shop is done. And there's so much stuff sitting in this house right now that has to go into the shop. Not just this house, but also my mother-in-law had a tax business that my sister-in-law now has, but they had to build a new building. So they have this little house that they ran it out of before, and most of that little house is full of shop display. It's just like there's stuff everywhere. And so you might have saw that we did get a pod, and we put it on the property outside the house. It's the second time we've had a pod there. And we took all of the things that were kind of sitting around in the rooms and put it in the pod. And I'll give you the update at 8:30 on why we did that and stuff. I'm getting ready to go down that rabbit hole, and I don't want to do it. But anyway, hey Rose, yeah. So I think I'm on the mend. And my friend Deb said to me the other day when I was telling her about it, "Have you started exercising?" And I'm like, ugh, no, but I should. I'm literally right now sitting right beside a commercial treadmill. So in this bedroom, what I threw at Everett was, "Hey, can I take over Emma's old room? And we can take the furniture out of it," because we put furniture in here actually after Emma moved out. And she's in college in Charlotte, and she's actually graduated, but she's staying in Charlotte. And she doesn't want this furniture because you know how kids are. It's like big clunky furniture, and they're like, "No, I'd rather have like a thick mattress that lays on the floor." And you're like, okay. So I think we're gonna he wants to build a Murphy bed. He's talked about it for years. And I wouldn't let him do it because the bed that was in here was one that it was unfinished when I bought it, and I stained it and everything. I didn't make the wood part, but I made it look like it looks, and I like it. So I finally said, "Well, you could put a Murphy bed in there and we could set it up like a studio." I said, "And then, if you need to use it a little bit, you can use it a little bit." So he was like, "Yeah, we can do that." So that's pretty cool. So that's where I'm at right now. We just kind of set it up real quick yesterday so I could film in here for the thing that I did. I'll tell you what's behind me. So right behind my head there, that is Middle Mist Red. And then up, let's see if I can do this without driving you guys crazy. Up there, that looks like an old antique. It is, and that's Esther Benson, which you can't see her very well. In the middle is a model of Margaret White, and look how tiny she is. She is a little Scottish sampler that was given to me as a wedding gift. I think I told you guys about. She's available in PDF, but since I finished the model and got her framed, I'm actually going to release her chart in hard copy. And I've decided that for every chart going forward that we have a little bit of room in, we'll do a small to go with it. And so I've actually stitched on Margaret White. She has a windmill and a tulip in a little house. And so I stitched the tulip, and I'm going to make it into a small. I don't think I brought it up here tonight to show you. And so I think each chart that we do of ours, I would like to pull out one of the motifs and create a little small and tell you how I made mine, so that you kind of get the idea that you can use those motifs to do other things, like little gifts for your friends or for, birthdays or for whatever you want to do. I'm going to see if I can scroll down the comments here without losing anything. Let me see. Okay, there we go. Maybe I can. There we go. And you might have to listen to me sniffle and sneeze a little bit. My allergies have really kicked in, and I really feel for all of you guys who are struggling with the wildfire fires and the smoke coming down from Canada. It's definitely putting a whammy on a lot of people. I'm fooling with the comments right now. Sorry about that. Just trying to get it to where I can see everything. It likes to show me like the first few and then nothing else. So one of these days I will figure out how to maneuver all this? Oh, Teal, you were in the thing yesterday. Yay. Oh, and so was Melanie. Excellent. So that's great. Well, I felt like it maybe went a little long. Like I might have rambled a little bit. But, at least maybe you heard some things you hadn't heard before. So it was a little bit of Bristol, and it was on Alice Ellen Usher, which you guys got to hear a lot of that last year when we kind of premiered her. And uh, one of the members of the guild there had asked me to go a little more in depth with them as one of their programs and tell them about it. So I did that for them. But if you ever want to hear more, I'm happy to do that for a guild or whatever. And I didn't charge anybody anything for that. I just want to share it. It's just fun stuff. So, oh, thanks, Till. My relaxed approach. Yeah, it was. I did put together a good pitch for it, which I do need to mail out, and then you guys will have that. But yeah, I think I could have done that a little bit different to make it easier with technology. But there you go. So yeah, I think I'll start filming here because the other thing I was thinking about is once the shop is open, I spend a lot of time in the shop, and if I start doing all of my filming there, because I do other stuff besides just this, which I know you guys know, but I like to film little video lessons and all kinds of other things. And if I did all that at the shop, I would just never ever be home. And so even though I'm just in the other room, at least I'm here. And like we ate dinner together tonight really quick before this, and I'm not 45 minutes away, or well, actually it's not 45 minutes. It's about 20 minutes, between 15 and 20. But by the time you get all your stuff together and blah blah blah, it's a journey. So anyway, I think I like this setup, having it here. So the other thing behind me is Mabel Took, and that is the original Mabel Took. And then up there's the model. So that one's on 40 count. So that's what those things are. And I know you guys have seen all those, so I won't drag them down. They're hanging kind of weird because we did that pretty quick. There's picture railing up there. So that picture railing, we'll actually put picture railing in at the Baird House too. In fact, it's already in a lot of places. Okay, so I know a lot of you guys are here to talk about the Christmas sampler. Oh, Lisa, yeah, I need to stitch. I have been stitching. And I'll have evidence of that tonight. So let me show you. Let's talk about this Christmas sampler thing so we make sure we get this in. Because this is perforated paper, and if you don't know what I'm talking about the, it's called Days of Christmas Past, and it was issued by Summerhouse Stitchworks for the market that just went by, and it's just the first one. And I think she's going to do 2 more sets of this. And so it had 3 perforated paper little ornaments there that you could make. And I'm telling you, they were so quick. Like, I stitched these. They took a little bit more than, if you sat around and, like I did, a day or 2, and caught up with your friends on FlossTube or whatever, you could finish these in a day. Pretty easy. I mean, it's a few hours stitching. Maybe a little bit more. I'm not a fast stitch, so it might be over or underestimating, but it just depends on how you go. But I just thought they were beautiful, and they're Victorian, and I think they'll look fantastic hanging on the tree at the Baird House. Because we've got 2 trees that we'll put up in there, at least 2. One is a normal, and because of my allergies and stuff, I don't do live trees anymore. I hate that, but it just really gets to me. I can't breathe anymore. So we've got a really pretty big green one, and we've got a silver one, which I love because my sister has my grandmother's antique silver foil tree, and I need to talk her out of that. So I'm hoping that once the shop opens, she'll give it to me to hold on to for a while anyway. So I think these will look beautiful. And I appreciate that so many of you wanted to stitch it with me. It did take me a long time to get more perforated paper. I sent out all the paper that I had, and I didn't start mine. I waited until we got more in. And when we got it in, I don't know, the beginning of last week, I sent it all out. So hopefully you guys all have yours. The package comes with 2, like, 11 by 14 or 8.5 by 11 sheets of these or something like that. So this is a piece that I cut. I cut mine. I actually ended up using a piece of paper that was longer that I got from Claudia Dutcher at Dutch Street Designs to do one of the Victorian mottos on. So if you ever decide you want to stitch a Victorian motto on perforated paper, I do have big pieces. And so that I didn't use paper that I knew you guys would want, I used one of those. And I cut them in like 6x6 squares, which I don't think you can get that out of yours. I think you need to, if you've got the whatever size it is, because some of these really do come out to be about a good solid 4 inches. I'm looking for my little, excuse me. Ugh. I should have brought the small one up here, but I didn't. So let me put them all on here. Okay, so what I used to stitch mine was a Cosmo thread, and 53 linen thread would be beautiful. And if you're going to use the 53, I think you'll have to use a single strand because it's going to be pretty thick. But you try it and see. Maybe you can use 2. Just try it over in the margin and see what you think. I used 2 strands of Cosmo, and I just picked a random red color, and I can tell you what it is, but you can use whatever red you've got. And it's a solid. Now, it does tell you on the chart what to use. She used DMC 815, which is garnet, which is about right. This is a 14 count brown paper, which is what you got if you ordered it from me. And in fact, if you've got it brown, it's a 14 count. They do make I think it's a 22 count now, and I've got some of that, but it's an off-white color. They've not made it brown, so you can antique it and make it brown. But this stuff's, it's really reasonable. I think it's like $5.50 for the 2 pages, which is actually, I guess that's not super cheap for a piece of paper, but, you'll get a lot of love out of it. I do have plenty right now, so if you need more, order it and you'll have it. You'll get all 3, certainly out of the 2 pages for sure. But if you want to do all 9, you might need another pack. But maybe you want to do one set and see what you think. I loved it. I really loved it. So, hey, Bobby, I'm sorry I lost you. I had to log out and back in. I just kind of pre-cut my paper in the squares like the one that I showed you. Let me get it up again. In a square. And you can pick what size square. Like you can see the biggest one was actually... I think the bigger one might have been this one. This is the one I was worried about. Like, when I started stitching this one, I was like, ooh, I hope I left enough room. And then this one was the next biggest. And then this one. But they all fit on there pretty good. You could definitely get them on a 5x5. You don't need a lot of extra paper. You're just wasting it because you're going to cut it off. Blue thread would be beautiful on antique white, but that's a great idea. So if you want that white paper, well, now you can also buy the Mill Hill paper. They come in all kinds of different colors. That's the other thing that we'll talk about is you could actually use the foil paper. It's not foil. It's just like this, but it comes in silver and gold, which I think we do have. And if you've ever done a Satsuma Street ornament, it comes with the paper in there. A lot of them are on gold or silver, and I'm sure Mill Hill does. Of course they do because it's their paper. Stuff too, so if you stitch that. So I am gonna, these are gonna go to the Baird house, and I'm gonna put an ephemera, a Christmas ephemera, like an old antique looking Christmas image in the middle of these, and I'm gonna talk you through how I think I'm gonna do it. I haven't done it yet, so it could change. But I ordered this book, Vintage Christmas Ephemera. You can do anything. You can use old Christmas cards. I just didn't have, I don't have a lot of them saved up. But if you've been saving Christmas cards, I saved the ones I wanted to save, and I didn't want to cut them up. But if you've been saving Christmas cards, you can cut out the Christmas card stuff and use it. But what I'm going to do, this stuff in this book is kind of on just like a little bit of a thicker paper. And I'm going to copy that on a cardstock and cut it out and use it. Now, I went and watched, there's a few ways to do these ornaments. So when I've made some of these on Santa ornaments and other Mill Hills, And oh, you're going to use the NPI. That would be beautiful too. I thought about using silk. I normally, for these kinds of things, just put a piece of, I actually used to use velvet or wool on the back. But I think for these, I want them to be a little more substantial. I want to make sure that they're going to make it. You know what I mean? Because they're so pretty. And then if you don't have yours yet, or you do and you didn't get the charm pack, let me show you what the charm pack looks like. Beth put together a really good, Beth of Summer House Stitchworks put together a really good charm pack. And there's, I forget how many are in here. I know there's at least 9 in there. There's enough to do the whole series. And they're different colors. And you can pick whichever one you want. And it's $8 for that. So whether you get that from me or somebody else, I'm sure lots of shops have them. I think that's going to set the ornament off and be really pretty. The other thing that I did, you saw that I stitched my initials and the year, and I'm going to put that on the back. Vonna has done a tutorial, Vonna Pfeiffer, the Twisted Stitcher. Hey, Joanne. And she did a tutorial that showed putting mat board behind these, behind hers. She did some sweaters, and then she finished it out and put paper on the back of the second piece of mat board, and it looked like a really nice finished ornament. I think I'm going to do that with these because I want them to be a little more substantial. I want them to make it. And so I'm going to probably try her process. I meant to have one of those ready for you tonight, and I didn't, but I will the next time we get together, which hopefully will be soon. But I went ahead and bought some brown acrylic craft paint. And if you've been watching the Hands-on Design series, the Polar Plunge, Kathy put a tutorial out there where she painted like something with acrylic paint. And Vonna actually, Ultra Suede would be gorgeous. It would be really nice on the back. It would be. And Vonna actually, on her mat board, she painted it the color to match her ornament, which I think hers was on the whitish paper. And that way when she put her ornament on the mat board, it blended. And that's one of the things that I've been thinking about with these red ones. You need to make sure that you trim your threads pretty good. And like on this, you can see there's a thread hanging on the back of it. Like you can sort of see it there on the Y. But you've got to make sure that you get your threads trimmed down pretty good for these, or you'll be able to see through it and see them. Now, if you decide to use a mat board or something on the back and you paint it the color of the paper, that's going to help you with that thread. And you won't be able to pick up that red thread as much, I don't think. So that's one reason I'm going to do that. And then I'll put some Christmas paper on the back. So I'll try to have that ready for the next time. I want to talk to you a little bit about these. I took some notes on some of the things that I learned while I was doing this, because there's a couple different ways to stitch on perforated paper. You can hold it in your hand, which is what I did. So I just held this in my hand and stitched on it. And if I had trouble seeing it, I put something behind it, on my lap or whatever. And I just held it like this and stitched. And these are small enough that you can do that. Just make sure your hands are dry. That's the big thing. You don't want to get the paper wet. And then you won't have any trouble. And so that's what I did. And then when I was finished with all 3, then I cut them out. And Beth actually has some lines on the chart that shows you where to cut it. And it's pretty much just, just like these. And so you just cut around each little box. Now, my advice to you is to go slow. So go slow. And once you start doing this, you'll notice that you might get, like, if you remember the election, I forget which one it was, a hanging chad. like you've kind of got it cut, but it's still kind of hanging out there. Don't reach up and pull that. Cut it off, because if you pull it, you're going to tear the paper a little bit. So, word to the wise, don't ask me how I know that. So just don't do it. It took me 1 full skein. I think I've got like maybe one 18-inch 6-strand piece left. So it took me almost a full skein to stitch these 3 using two plies, 2 strands of thread. I started out stitching with a 24 needle because that's what I like to stitch with when I'm on a 14 count or a 28 count, which is what this is. It's a 14 count. Will this be a kit? They're not kitted, Bobby, but I can kit it for you. I mean, it's no big deal. So what people have done is they've ordered the chart, the charms, and the paper. So it's just those 3 things. And if you pull it up on my website, you'll see that underneath the product, you see the other products. They're on there as a related product. So you can just click, 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 throw them in the basket. No big deal. Hey, Kathy, I'm glad you're on. I did post the link out on Facebook, but I didn't put it on Instagram. On that note, if you want to make sure that you get notifications, even for the live things, you have to do something funny in YouTube. When you're in YouTube, like say right now, if you're watching this on your TV, you use your info button and then you go up to where you see the little, it'll pop up a whole bunch of options, and you go up and you click on go to channel, you click on subscribe, but then you need to click on all where it has the bell. Click on all. Because if you don't click on all, YouTube doesn't pop it up and tell you everything. And I don't know how their algorithm works and how they make the choices, that they don't always tell you. But if you click on all and you're subscribed, it will tell you whenever we go live or whenever I've scheduled a live. And so you can do that. If you're on your phone, I think you can do it easier. So, and I'm sorry, Kathy, it took a minute. Hey, Kendra. Hey, Bobby. Okay. The other thing, so I used a 26 needle. I left that 24 needle behind. The reason is that it was hard to, this is the back, it was hard to run under stuff with a 24 needle. And you can see I carried thread in some places. And I'm going to talk to you about what was easier with this and what wasn't so easy. So once I went to a 26 needle, I could run it under better. The other tip that I would give you is to use a loop method start when you don't have a place where you can run your thread under on the back. It's really, the stitching on here is so spaced out that it's hard to do a waist away knot or an away knot, you know, where you put the knot on top and you stitch over it. You have to place it carefully to do that. And sometimes I did that. And other times I used a loop start with a single strand that then became 2. And so if you need to learn how to do a loop start, you can Google it. But basically you take a single strand, you fold it over on itself and double it. So you have the 2 tails in one hand and a loop on the other end. You take the loop and you put it through the eye of your needle, which sounds weird, but it works. And you put it through the eye of your needle. So now you've got the loop end through the eye of the needle, and you've got the 2 tails over here on the other end. You pull it down to where the loop end is hanging lower. And then you go through the hole from the top, and you come up from the bottom, and you catch the loop, and then you go back down in the same hole. That's one way. The other way is to do that on the back. If you need me to illustrate that, let me know, and I'll do a little quick video and show you how to do that. Because a loop start makes it easier. So much easier to start. And then all you're worried about is ending the thread. Because I stitch tight. And that's the problem. This paper doesn't give. So if you stitch tight, you got to be able to get the needle under. And some people will change to a smaller needle, like all the way down to a 28, to end off the thread. I hate that. I hate changing stuff. So usually I'm playing thread chicken. And I barely have enough thread to end it, let alone rethread it. Oh, you're on YouTube in advance. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had to. I was having a lot of echoing, Kathy. I'm sorry. I did see a lot of comments out there, but I didn't know how else to get that to stop. So I apologize for that. So look up the loop method, and if you're in a spot where you just need to stitch without doing an away knot, or waist away knot, start with a loop method. That made my life a lot easier. And a 26 needle. I find it with this thread that I use, 2 strands of cotton. I couldn't have used a 28. I don't Getting it threaded was a pain, so I didn't even go there. Um, okay, and so we talked a little bit about the cutting. So Beth has put lines on the pattern to show you where to cut. But basically you're going to cut each little square. Like you don't want to take and just kind of cut around. You really want to clip each little box. And there was one place where I didn't do that on one of these, and you can tell it, and it doesn't look great. And so I stopped. That was early on. So what I did first is I cut around the edges. So this was the size paper I used. I cut off all the extra paper, sort of. Like it was square like this. And so I came through and like cut a straight line within a couple of squares all the way around it. And then all I had to worry about was the middle and then doing all this stuff on the edges. It was easier for me to cut out the middle first, because if you cut all around the edge of the ornament and then you try to cut the middle, it's just more delicate. It's a more delicate, tricky thing. So I actually did the middle first, and then I did the rest. I cut off the extra paper, did the middle, and then cut off all the extra little bits. To do the middle, I used you really need to use a small pair of scissors. So if you have a pair of embroidery scissors that can be a sacrificial lamb, this is a great time for those. I try to use my I think it's called Karen Buckley scissors. K Buckley. Karen K Buckley. There we go. These are big, and this is great for cutting off the long parts, but they're very sharp, and they were almost too sharp for this. And they were too big, and so I didn't go very far with these until I went back to a little cheap pair of embroidery scissors, and I used those the rest of the time. So find yourself a pair of embroidery scissors, maybe the ones you use for metallics, because they're going to get dull quick anyway. But one that you can put aside to use for weird stuff like this that you're not going to want to cut thread, because it will dull them. So maybe an inexpensive pair. And so what I did is I kind of snipped in the middle. I got my blade in there and I snipped a little hole, and then I basically cut 4 legs of an X. And then I was able to fold that paper up and cut it off. And then once you get it kind of cut back like that, like if you're cutting the V of an envelope off, then you're able to get in and cut the rest of this. It's slow. You just need to take your time. Do it when you're not in a hurry. Don't put yourself under any pressure. And then cutting all this stuff off around the edge, it's just slow. So take your time. And if you do make a boo-boo and you do cut through something, it's okay. So when you finish this, when you do your final finish with this, you're going to put something behind here and then something behind the whole thing. So you're going to be using some glue, or some acid-free tape. Honestly, this is paper, and I don't know that perforated paper is acid-free. I'm guessing probably not. So we do have some antiques that are perforated paper. I have 2, 3. So they may have a long life, but, use the glue. So just use your Eileen's glue, and go watch Vanna's video, because if you don't get anything else out of it, you'll understand the amount of glue. You don't want to put a ton of glue. But if you make a little snip in here that you didn't mean to do, don't freak out. It's okay. Just put it together with your fingers, and when you glue it all together, just make sure you glue it down. Easy peasy. No big deal. Nobody will ever know because it'll stick. But you do need to trim your threads pretty short. I've not gotten them. I don't think I've done them all. That's the back of that one. And you don't want to have a lot of bulk in any one place. You can see I've got some bulk in certain places. This one probably looks the best on the back. But, and these are the fronts close up. You see, they're not perfect. Actually, I think this was the one I messed up. A little bit, not a lot. But you see it's crooked down here. I had those big scissors right in there. And they cut really good. And so after that, I was like, oh, I don't like that. And I like this one a lot better. And this was just low, slow going with just a little pair of scissors. And you actually see there's a little bit of a nip right in here somewhere. You're looking at this really highly magnified. You won't see that when you've got it put together. Okay, so these are going to have like pictures of Santa or something Victorian in them. And you could actually make a second one and put on the back with another picture and have the two go together. And that would be kind of cool. And that was one of Beth's suggestions. You just need to make sure you put a hanger in there. I'll turn it around so it's pretty. Put a hanger in there for it. And you're going to put your little charm on there. And one of you guys mentioned doing beads, which would be fantastic. You could put beads on it. You could put beads in it when you sew it. You could use metallics. I'm going to make a whole nother set of these that I'm going to give as Christmas gifts. They were so quick to stitch, and I really enjoyed it because I felt like I finished something, right? Which is important to all of us, but to me in particular right now. I felt like I had control and I finished something. So I'm going to do some more. And maybe I might do them on some of those full covered paper, the silver, the gold, or maybe I just use metallics, and make it pretty. And maybe I don't use metallics on everything, but maybe just part of it. And maybe I put something metallic on the back, I was even trying to think about how to put a little piece of an old antiqued mirror, on there, but I think it'd be too heavy, so I'm probably not going to do that. A piece of mica. I don't know if you guys have seen mica. Somehow, I think because I had family in Tennessee, which they're still there, but my mother's family came from Tennessee. And there are mica mines in Tennessee. And mica is really cool. It's this really like opal, not opal, but you can't see all the way through it, but you can sort of see through it. And it's layers. And so you can peel off the layers. And I remember when we would come back from visiting one of my great uncles in Tennessee, I would come home with some mica. And I, played with it till I broke it, basically. But if you watched Katie Strachan and one of her casket finishes, she used mica to make it look like a mirror. And so she basically put it over her needlework. And it kind of... made it opaque was the word I was looking for. It made it a little more opaque. And so you can see through mica. And if you get it down to the thinnest layer, you can see through it really well. But a piece of mica over an old picture would be really pretty. But for my family, I'm going to get pictures of their family and put in here. So for my sister-in-law, I've already asked her for a vintage picture of her dad. So an older picture of her dad. And her mom, who are both gone now. And for basically all of my siblings and hopefully my nieces and nephews, I've got all the pictures from my family. That's what I'm going to do. And I hope that it'll be a really neat treasure for them, that they'll have that for a long time and maybe hand it down. I do think that, a little bit of time spent with these guys and you can make them something that people want to keep forever. They're beautiful. So I'm appreciative to Beth for these. I don't think I've seen the next one come out, but I'm sure it's coming soon. So, any questions on that? I rambled on that for a while. I'm excited about these. Can you tell? So, especially because they didn't take me very long. But I'm excited about having fun with them, and I look forward to the other shapes too. And figuring out what I want to do with them. And it made me think Mylar, yeah, you could do that too with Mylar. That'd be pretty, Kathy. So yeah, so you could put all kinds of neat things in here. I think it'll be really neat. It made me think of something else that I had done as a kid. I think I was in the first grade. My dad, it was a project that we were doing at school. They wanted us to bring in 2 or 3 eggs that we had de-yolked. So that we had, you call it blowing out the yolk. And my dad, I remember him helping me do it. He helped me blow the yolk out of the eggs. He did it for me. Um, yeah, you can send me an email. Sure. Kathy, I'd be glad to send them to you. Actually, if you want, I can go out and put a subscription up or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, you send me a note. I'll get them to you. No big deal. Um, the eggshells. So you put a hole in the top and you put another hole in it, the hole in the front, and you get the yolk out. And so you basically blow through one hole and it blows out the other. And so what we did is we cut an oval hole on the front and clean, the egg had to be dried. So you kind of rinsed it with water. You're careful not to break the egg. And you had a hole in the top, which you put in it to blow the yolk out the front. And then once it was dry, we painted it. And then we put a cotton ball in it. We put our little hanger up through the hole that was in the top. So a little piece of ribbon with a knot in it, and then it had a loop at the top that you could hang it with. And then we cut out a Christmas card picture and put in the front. I had those. The last time I saw those, I was in my late 30s, early 40s. And I made them in the 6th grade. And so they survived all that time. And my mom died when I was 20. So my dad had taken care of them all that time. And every year they came out and got put on the tree. And so something as simple as this made me think of that. And I was like, wow. And I have missed those ornaments since my dad died. I've wanted them. But I can't get through everything over at my dad's house. My sister lives there. I can't find them, basically. And so I can't get them back. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make them again. And this kind of surprised me. I mentioned it tonight when I was getting ready to come in here because I knew I wanted to tell you guys. And I said, hey, Everett, I want to save a couple of the large eggs that we have. Sometimes we get goose eggs, or duck eggs, not goose eggs, duck eggs. Somebody will give us eggs because, around here and probably where you guys are too, eggs are so expensive that people who have chicken and ducks and things like that, they'll give you eggs. I try not to eat the duck eggs just because I'm weird. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm just odd. And so if they're really giant, I know it's a duck egg and I'll leave it for him. But we have some pretty big eggs in there that I know are chicken eggs because they came from Publix. And I said, will you help me blow a couple of those eggs out? I want to make some ornaments. And I told him about it. He goes, well, is there something wrong with those up there? I said, what do you mean? And he's got this wire basket that looks like a chicken and it's full of eggs. I said, are those real eggs? He goes, yeah, I blew all those out when Emma was little. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he did the same thing with her, and she's 20 now. So 30 years in between. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm probably going to let him keep his and I'm still going to do my own or get him to help me do it. And then just put rickrack around the edges of it. And it was just such a sweet little thing. And I don't think we even put anything else on there. I think I had two that had Christmas cards in them. But you could do pictures or whatever. So if you're trying to think of something fun to do for your grandkids or whatever, that would be kind of neat. I don't know if they'll survive. It's a tough one. I'm shocked that mine survived, but they did for a long time. They may not be around now, but they did for a long time. Okay, so that's the thing with the Christmas stuff. We talked about putting the back on wool, velvet. You guys mentioned ultra suede, other paper. Go check out Vanna's video. It's got Christmas sweaters, and you can see what she did if you want to make them, more substantial. And she put paper on the back of hers. I'll try that. I'll show it to you when I get it done. Okay, that's it for that. So I want to show you then the next little series that I was working on. I'm just going to hold them up instead of holding that big board, which is Hands on Designs Polar Plunge. And so I got 2 of these stitched. This one is the Puffin Pear. 8:45. Oh, Kathy, thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to stop and I'm going to give you the update. So we have a very short list. We got a new inspector. We went to the main Buncombe County, the guy over all of Buncombe County. This is about 3 weeks ago. And he gave us his number 2 guy, the guy that was next in line under him. And that guy came out and walked through the house with us. And there was a very short list. And we've done most of it. And we were going to do the rest of it today. But we had a really busy day yesterday. Everett did. And so I think he just needed a little bit of time off. He worked all morning this morning, too, on stuff. So we didn't get over there. So tomorrow's the day. So on the short list are a little ramp in front because our threshold is, I think, 2 inches and it can't be more than an inch. So to be handicap accessible, a little bitty ramp right there over the door, which Everett's already got the materials to make. Our ADA, our handicap access bar in the ADA bathroom downstairs was 3 inches too high. So we have to lower that down, which is no big deal. We unscrew it, drill a hole, screw it in, we're done. We have to put a little more insulation in the attic, which we've taken it up there. We've bought it. We just have to roll it out. That just has to be a cool morning. It'll take maybe 30 minutes, and then that's done. We have to put doorknobs on our really beautiful slider doors that, I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of them. They're really blue. We had them made from old heartwood pine, but they're new doors. We had them made by a young couple up in Michigan for us, and then we drove them home on top of the Subaru, or the Mini, one of the two, I can't remember now. But they're really pretty, so we have to put the knobs on those, and he said that we either have to keep one of them closed all the time or take them down or something, because they hang over the doorway by like an inch when they're both open. So we'll deal with that with the fire marshal. We haven't had the fire marshal in yet. And we had to replace 2 locks. The lock on the swan room door, Barbara, you know which one I'm talking about, and the lock on the kitchen door, which we'll use for shipping. They had deadbolts because we got broken into a couple times. And we have to switch those out for thumb locks so that if there's an emergency, you guys can get out. So I bought those this week, and we just have to put them in. And we use these smart key locks so that you can make all the keys the same when you have to change them, because we end up changing locks a lot between rental properties and other stuff. And so, yeah, that's it. Unless they make us do something really crazy underneath, which I mentioned before in the video. They were talking about making us build some walls underneath the house to basically wall off the porches so that no moisture could get underneath the body of the house through the porches. So I'm hoping that they don't make us do that. If they make us do that, one of them is easy. The back porch is easy. The front porch is not so easy. You have to get down on your belly. There's not a lot of room, but we'll get it done. So that being said, we've already done some of the other things that were on the list. So there was more, but we've already done it all. I think that we will get inspected again this week. And that guy's going to come back and do the inspection. And here's the problem that I finally understood what has happened to me in this situation. When we started working on this house in the beginning, it was, even though it's commercially zoned, which this is where I wasn't making the connection, it was zoned commercial. They treated it like a house, like a residential. And so when they were doing the inspection, I went up there one other time and sat down with the lead of all of Buncombe County inspections and talked to him about the historical code, because this house, as a house, anything you do to it technically falls underneath the historic code because it's on the national listing of historic places, which makes it a little bit easier to renovate. Because some things you can't do to an old house, it just won't work. You know, you can't make it completely airproof to where, you know, once it's insulated and stuff, and if you closed everything up, they do this test to see if air escapes anywhere. Well, in a house that's 160 years old, air's going to get out. So that test doesn't work. And that's what actually took me up there that time. One of the inspectors was a brand new inspector, insisted on doing this test. And of course the house failed. And I was like, it doesn't matter what we do to this house or how many times you come out here, it's never going to pass that test. And so the lead inspector at that time, the main guy, came out and he was like, yeah. So that's been a few years ago. And what's happened now is I put up the sign out in front of the house that says Sassy Jack Stitchery. And it's a beautiful sign. But now they look at it and they go, oh, Ding, ding, ding. That's going to be a business. Even though I told them all along, they're like, oh, that's a business. It's not a house. I'm like, dude, that's a house. And they're like, no, 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 it's not a house. It's a business. I said, but it's always been commercial. Oh, we don't care about zones. And I'm like, what? And so when I put the sign up, they started treating it differently. They started treating it like it was a commercial business property, which it is. But from what they tell me, because it's no longer going to be just a residence, a place where people live, it doesn't fall under that historic code. Now, I'm so close to getting through the process, I'm not going to argue that point. We're just going to try to do what they tell us to do and get her done. And so I think that, we'll get it inspected this week. I think we'll be open sometime in August is what I think. Because we've got to clean it out and paint it. We spent last weekend getting all the fixtures and stuff that we just kind of put in there out. And so they're in the pod. So the house is pretty opened up now. It's basically ready to clean and paint. And so they needed us to do that. That was the other thing they asked us to do, so they could see all the walls around all the floors. They want to make sure that we've put the plugs in the right place. So this house never had centralized electricity. It had a few plugs, but it never had, like the lights had pull strings, and a lot of us grew up with that. And the upstairs had never had any sort of electricity at all. And so pretty much everything is new. So they want to go around and check everything and make sure that it makes sense. Oh, and we have to build a little box over a gas fitting, because we actually made it to where we could put some gas fireplaces upstairs. And we haven't put them in, and we're not going to for a while, not till we get through all this craziness. But we have to box something off. But Everett says that'll take him 20 minutes. So that's no big deal. So I think this week Everett has to build the little ramp thing, and he has to help me with the doorknobs, because one of them, for those slider doors, we're putting some antique knobs on one side, but on the other side, we have to carve it out to put the little they're like little brass insets. And you put your hand in there and you grab it and you slide it. And so that has to be carved out, and that's an Everett job. So in the meantime, we've also been taking apart. If you came to our old shop, you saw the big white A-frames that had all of the clear things on it that we put all the charts on. We've actually been taking those apart. And we've got 2 of them apart. And what we did is we took the wall part that had the charts and we attached them to the walls. And so it's already starting to look like a shop, which is pretty cool. So those have been going up. And then the base part of it, we'll use them where we can. One of them goes into the thread room. One of them goes here or there, They're actually too big to come out of the house put together. So we made them in the house, and then we took them out and we took them to the old shop. But that's before we had any of the trim work up around the doors and stuff. So the openings were bigger. And we didn't have the railing on the porches. And so now you can't get them through the doors. Like, there's only one way they could go out, and they can't go out that way. They won't fit. So they have to come apart, or they have to live where they are. And so we're taking them apart and reusing them, which I always intended to do. I was really excited that it worked, because I wasn't sure that they would come apart. And so the fun part of it was, to take them apart, you have to find all the screws that you used to put them together. And so Everett and I made them together, and he screwed them all together, and then I went back. It was my job to putty everything. And I don't know why he was surprised, but I puttied it so well that he couldn't find the screws. And then when he did, he couldn't get them out, because it was like concrete, like I was serious about it, because at that time I wasn't thinking about taking them apart. And so we had to take a strong magnet, and run it over. We had to take them completely apart, like even all the shelving and stuff off the outside, take them completely apart and run a magnet across it until it found the screw. And then we had to dig at it to get down to where you could like unscrew it. So it's been a lot of fun. It's actually fun to work together. I don't know how many of you guys have done that, but it's actually fun to work together. We've made a lot of memories working together. And I will tell you, this happened earlier tonight. A funny story about out there is there's a black snake that hung out a lot. And Leslie Hale, who's one of my local stitchers, gave it a name. And she called her Sally the stitching snake, which was kind of cool. And so there were several times that Everett didn't tell me at the time, but Sally was like above my head or right behind me or whatever. And she's a black snake, and she kept us clean. We didn't have any mice or anything, so we weren't going to hurt Sally. You know, we figure when all her little nooks and crannies get plugged up, she won't be in the house anymore. And we actually haven't seen her in there in like a year. So last time I saw her, she was outside, and I took a video for you guys. I think you saw it. So I don't know. I think Sally's probably gone away. But I opened the French doors tonight. We've built a little garden outside too. So we have been doing some things. And that's what Everett's been working on. He wants to build an orchard out back. So now that we're getting almost done with the shop, we've actually been doing some other things. And so he wanted to build an orchard out back. So for Father's Day, I gave him some trees. Well, I ordered the wrong trees. I ordered elderberry trees. And I was supposed to be getting mulberry trees because on a Father's Day several years ago, he took Emma and I to the little town of Marshall, and we found a big tree, and we ate mulberries from the tree. So it was a neat Father's Day memory. And so I was trying to have that memory preserved for him, and I ordered elderberry, and he's like, "What's an elderberry?" And I was like, "Oh." So then I had to order 2 mulberry trees, and so he's been out planting trees. And we also have some raised bed gardens that we've been meaning to do forever. And this year, one night last week, or a couple weeks ago, we filled them up with dirt and planted. And my plants came up. I'm so excited because I've got a black thumb. So they came up, and I grew peas and beans and carrots, and he did the rest. And so everything's doing pretty well. I was going to walk out there and look at it tonight, and Herschel, of course, was going with me. And I opened the French doors, and I walked out without thinking about it. Herschel walked out with me, and he likes to run behind these blocks, and he ran behind the blocks. And I glimpsed something out of my eye, and I turned around, and there's a black snake. And it's behind the blocks, and it's underneath Herschel, and he doesn't see it. Now, it happened so fast. You know, cats, that's unusual. They didn't see it. And I reacted to it because it was a snake, and the snake looked at me. And I immediately, I don't know what I said. I think I just kind of gasped and went back toward the door because I wanted to get Herschel away. Herschel's a very big cat, and I don't think the black snake could have hurt an animal his size. But it just kind of blew my mind when I looked over that there my piece of my heart was standing over this predator. And I must have scared Herschel to death because he was back in the house way before I was. And I come to the door, and I'm like, Everett, 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 over and over again. And poor Everett, I think, almost had a heart attack. So by the time he gets to the door, I had closed the door. I was like, oh, it's just a black snake. And he was like, what? And so, we opened the door, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it. It's going on its way. It's doing something. And I wasn't going to do anything to hurt it, but it just kind of scared me, It was funny. Hey, Rhonda. So anyway, that was my black snake story. That got everybody's heart rate up for the evening. Okay, so I think I've told you about the Baird house. I really think we'll be in there in August sometime, but, don't hold me to it. It depends on how long it takes to get it cleaned and painted, and I think we'll get through that process reasonably quick. So that's that. Thanks for the reminder on that. So I'm going to go back to these. So these are the hands-on design, and if you have any questions about the Baird house, please feel free to put it on there. Puffin Party is this one. And then I think this one was, I forget what this was called, but it's basically a penguin, dad and babe. Daddy and baby. And so these guys, there are 6 of them. And the 7th one, Kathy released last week, and you have to buy it from her, from Hands On Design. All the money goes to Special Olympics. And so I did download mine. It's a Narwhal. I haven't stitched him, but I downloaded him. But I've prepared the finishing pieces for these, and I wanted to show you. So this is how they come, and we have a bunch of them. I think we got at least 20 of them in the shop. So you can get them if you need them. They're pretty inexpensive, $14. And you get the 6 pieces to finish the 6 ornaments. So maybe they're just 6, not 7. 6, not 7, 6. So you get the 6 pieces to finish it. And then this other little piece, which you can't see too well there, there's a smaller piece. That's your template for cutting your mat board and stuff. And Kathy Haberman has done a tutorial on that. When's the book coming out? You'll have to... I'm going to get rid of this person here if I can. Okay. Because I don't know who that was. Okay, so I just got rid of maybe a bot. I don't know what that was. It's the first time we've had that happen. Okay, so let's see. I'm messing up my screen here. All right, so I painted mine. When I held this up when we started with the perforated ornaments, make sure you're keeping your paper in something where it's not going to get bent. And I'll show you the scissors that I used to cut mine were these little $6 scissors. And I've got metallics on there because these are my metallic scissors. I use them to cut metallics. You can order from us, Rhonda, or any shop. They definitely have the patterns for the Christmas stitch. Or if you want the patterns for hands-on design, it's the same. You can get them from us or any needlework shop that you want to order from. So I went ahead and painted my pieces. So they look like this. And I painted them with the paint that Kathy recommended. It looks black on the screen, but it's blue. And it was super easy. So, hey, Inherited. So I just squirted the paint on here and used a little foam brush. And this kind of little foam brush. And just painted it. And I didn't have any lines or anything. You do want to make sure on your last thing that if you're going to do anything wonky that you just make sure that you're going straight across. Hey, Ara. Yeah, and it'll be recorded so you can go back and watch. And so you'll end up with 6 of these. And I think that does them all. And anyway, I haven't finished mine yet, but Kathy does have a tutorial out there. I just wanted to show you. This was really easy. I did this really quick. I had them in a cardboard box in my kitchen. And I just stood there and did the thing. And then the next day I looked at them and I had a couple spots that I felt like were kind of light with paint. I took my Q-tip and I put it in the little lid of the paint bottle and I just touched them up. I didn't even use my brush again. And this is the brush I used. You can see the paint. I just washed it out real good because I'll use this for the glue too. Which thread did I use so the paper starts? I used Cosmo and I used Cosmo number 2245. That's what I used. And so on the note of Cosmo, you know, I've had the next chapter ready for a long time to send out, but I wanted to put together a conversion chart for you guys, which we did, but I haven't made it pretty because I haven't had my helper Allie to do all the pretty stuff for me. So I just need to sit down and make it something pretty, and then we'll send those back out. So Beth, I don't know what you and Gary are going to do about your no buy for a year thing. Maybe that's an exception because you're already in it. Or maybe I'll just hold on to them for you till next year and you can just watch everybody else get theirs. That was mean, wasn't it? It was supposed to be. I keep tempting Gary and Beth. I want them to both cave in and, you know, just for fun, just to watch them suffer. The other thing that you can do on the back of your little paper ornaments is you can write on it. That's what Vonna did. She just used a micron pen and she just wrote, you know, her name on the back. Or you can take a little piece of perforated paper like I showed you. I just stitched my initials in the year and you can glue it to the back too, which I think is what I'm going to do. So I know I've rambled for a while, but if you guys want me to keep going for a little while, I can show you some of my stitching I've been working on. I did iron some things. Hey, Catherine. Yeah, you're welcome. I do want to show you Kezia because I've been... Kezia... Threads don't count. That's a good one, Melanie. I'm with you. Threads should not count because you need threads. It's a necessity. Um, so Kezia is a sampler that we reproduced, and we issued it last year. And I didn't bring the chart up here, and that's going to make it hard on you. I gave the sampler back to its owner, which is Melanie Rainier, so we appreciate her letting us borrow it. But I wanted to show you my stitching on it. So that flower there is embroidery, and it's kind of counted. Yes, I will post when the shop passes. Trust me. I'll do a little dance for you when it finally gets passed. And my electrician did call tonight and went through the list again with my husband to make sure that he's on it. So, in fact, I think we'll be going over there tonight after this is over to take some stuff over. This is a really pretty sampler. I wanted to talk about it a little bit because this flower in the middle is, I want to see if you can get a good picture of it. It's embroidered, right? And so the green part is stitched, and then the leaves and stuff are embroidered. And we charted it out in the sampler book to show you where to put it. And it's just stem stitch, basically, and some satin stitch. But a little girl stitched it, and so it looks a little rustic because that is how she placed it. But the fact that she stitched it and it looks kind of rustic sure did make it easier to imitate. So it's a little rustic looking. But it's really pretty, and I've enjoyed it. And I've been stitching it with needlepoint ink. And the needlepoint ink, to me, I know that a lot of you guys use it and like it. It just has such a soft feel to it, and it's so durable. Can Herschel stay at the shop? I would love for Herschel to stay at the shop. I'm allergic to Herschel and all of his kind, and I worry about other people being allergic. So I want him there. We all want him there. But I don't know. Maybe he can come on certain days or something. I don't know. We'll have to see. And he's been behaving pretty good. I let him go outside because we live pretty rural. And he literally stays, if not within my vision, within my voice. Because we've got about 5 acres. So we're pretty far away from, busy roads and stuff. But I don't want him going anywhere. And when I call him, he comes back. And he runs back. He gallops like a horse. And he gallops back and he runs all the way in the house. And the reason that he does that is because every time he does it, I give him a treat. So, my mom told me a long time ago that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And so I think that works on male cats as well. So every time he comes in, I give him a little treat. So he'll stand there and wait for his treat. But I've trained him like a dog. He's funny. He'll fetch. He does all kinds of funny stuff. We'll see. I'd love to have him there, but I'm leaning toward no because I'm afraid that it'll be hard. And he is black, and he does shed, and his little black hair gets in a lot of places. And so it's probably not the best idea, but maybe we can have Herschel meet and greets or something. So I wanted to show you Kezia, and just in case you were worried about stitching that embroidery part, it's not that bad, but go out and take a look at Kezia's book because she's really pretty. This one I can't remember if I showed you. If I did, I know I didn't have an iron, but it's an ink circles, and it came out during the pandemic, and it was just so much fun to stitch because it's so pretty, and those are all microbes and things like that, and I just thought it was really cool. And so this will be hanging in the bathroom downstairs appropriately where you need to wash your hands. But I loved stitching this one. It's on a picture of this plus kind of a very, very pale violet linen. So I just thought it was really pretty. I love the colors on that one. I'd like to stitch it again for here. This one I think I showed you because I have had it finished. These are all things I've finished this year. But some of them I've shown. I just had a big pile down there I haven't finished. This is a Teresa's Primitive Treasures, and I think it was in one of the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitchers magazines. And it goes on a pencil box, and so it gets finished on the top of like a box with a sliding lid. And for a long time, I kept thinking that was a bunny rabbit. And I still think that she's a bunny rabbit. But I couldn't figure out why she had a carrot for her nose. And she's really a snowman. But in my head, she's a bunny rabbit, and don't ask me why. I don't know why. I bet she's a bunny rabbit, and she has a carrot for her nose. But I think she's so cute, and she's a little bitty, and she's pretty. But the pattern is in one of the Primitive and Punch Needle Stitcher magazines. I believe that she came out last year because I actually bought a little kit for her in the box from Teresa's Primitives at the Prim Stitchers retreat in September. So I think that was last year. That might have been 2021. I think it was 2022. Don't hold me to it. We'll look at this thing and see if we can tell. So I've got another thing over here that might help us know. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're getting. Oh, it was 2020. Yeah, it was 2022, I think. No, 2021. So it's been a while. But I finished her this year. So this was actually one of the little free things that they gave us at that retreat. It went on a box. And I haven't put it on the box yet. But I thought the bee was really pretty. And I don't know who the designer of that was. But I'm pretty into bees. But that'll go on one of those wooden shaker boxes. But instead of putting it in the bottom, I'm going to put it in the top so that I can put something else in the bottom. This was my big finish for the earlier part of the year, which I'm pretty sure I showed it to you. Maybe I didn't, or maybe I showed it to you when I had it partially done. And this I stitched with Vicki Clayton silks. But this is Feast of Friendship. Oh, she's too big. I just loved it. I love the blue house. I love how the pumpkin turned out. You can see that YP over on the side. I think I did show this to you because I remember talking about that. It's kind of funny looking because it looks like it's got a turnip between it. Because it had like two big initials there for the Stitchers initials. Instead of doing that, I did Young and Ponder, the Y and the P, and I made them up. And I put a little heart between it. And then I made like little branches and stuff coming out of the heart. Like you would kind of like a Catholic heart that you see on some stuff. I wanted it to look like a plant that was growing. A heart that was growing, that was alive. And so now it looks like a turnip. Hey, Vina. Thank you. So, yeah, Kathy Tonelli. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Kathy Tonelli is the designer of the Prim Stitch Retreat, the bee. So I bet she does something else with that bee. It's a very pretty bee. But, she's done some neat stuff, so you might be able to find some stuff out there for her. But this was Feast of Friendship anyway, one more time. I just loved it. I loved stitching it. I can't wait to get it framed. I just haven't made it to the framer to do that yet. Okay, and then I stitched also the, I ordered the little, I forget what it's called. Do you know what blue you used for that house? It was a Vicki Clayton blue, and so it's the blue that's called for on the chart, but then Vicki Clayton, translated it into hers. I did not bring the bag with me to tell me that, but if you need to know before I'll try to remember to post it in the description of this video. Something's on my screen. But if you need to know before that, you can look at Hand-Dyed Fibers by Vicki Clayton and look up the conversion for Feast of Friendship from Blackbird Designs, and you'll see it. But this is Gather Round from Hands On Design. So I did get the first 3 stitched, and I haven't stitched the others, but that was one. So see, I was trying to work it out, Lisa. I was stitching. I know, stitching is my sanity. When I was traveling all the time, I stitched all the time. When I went through, my divorce, I'd been with my husband for 24 years, and that was 10 years ago. So we were babies. It was the right thing to do, but it was hard. It's always hard. And I stitched a lot during that, too. This is the other one. So I'm generally pretty good with taking care of myself, but I just could not figure it out, And then it dawned on me that it was probably menopause messing with me a little bit. And so hopefully I've got that solved. And I am going to take Deb's advice and start exercising. Deb teaches yoga. She's great. I wish I could do. I like yoga. I feel like I need special help with yoga. And I've done yoga, but I tried to go back and do like, just get like a teacher that would teach me because I really know nothing about it. I will tell you, the times that I've done yoga, I have walked out of there feeling like I had a workout, and I have felt so much better. It was like my whole body felt alive in a good way. Like I could breathe. Yoga, there's something about yoga that does realign I think it has to realign all your blood vessels and everything in your body, as well as it's meditative to you too. It kind of teaches you how to breathe and stuff like that, and it's good for stretching. But I actually felt like my body was in a better state. Like everything was flowing better. It worked better. So I would like to get back into yoga. We'll see about that when I can do that. So this was the third one from that series. Yeah, yoga's a win-win for sure. Now, if you're doing that series, it's not publicly available, but she did give you the little kits and finishing boards for it. But she is going to release it. So this was our soiree design last year. So I thought it turned out really pretty. There are still openings in this year's soiree, and that's the other thing I want to talk to you about before we finish up tonight, so don't go before I get that done. I've got one more thing to show you, and then I will tell you about that stuff. This is a La-Di-Da, and it's a Christmas one, and it says, I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all year long, all through the year. Whatever. You can see what it says. It's something different from that. This fabric is Tudor Red from the Primitive Hair, which I know we've got in stock. And then I changed the colors and I picked something that would work. So I just picked a gold, which I think was, it was probably a Cosmo. And then I just picked some colors for the candle. But those little flecky things, which aren't showing up very well, that's a metallic. And I just used a random silver metallic. And I can't wait to finish this one. I thought it was beautiful on this Tudor Berry linen. So pretty. Because I love that linen and I couldn't think of what to stitch on it because it's so dark. And when I saw this Christmas design come through, I was like, oh, that's it. So it's a La-Di-Da. And being able to view, like, oh, Rose, I will do that for you tonight. I will take care of that. I'm sorry. I knew I had something pecking at my mind the other day about that, and I couldn't quite remember what it was, and I'm sorry. I'll get that taken care of for you. I'm not sure why you're having an issue, but we'll fix it. Okay, so before we finish up, I want to talk to you about classes. I have workshops coming up in August for Summer House Stitch Works, and it's a little bit like the class we did last year with her. Last year was it was kind of like I'm going to say it wrong, wildflower thing. This year it's like a roll up. And so it's a similar kind of, it's a companion. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a companion. Now here's a secret. If you wanted to do last year's to go with this year's, I actually had a few left over. And I will, if you send me a note, I can get it to you. Otherwise, I'm going to put them on the Alley Cats and Unicorns page. And so if you're ever looking for something, keep an eye on the Alley Cats and Unicorns page. I don't put a lot of stuff out there, but when I do, it's either an alley cat, which means that it's something older and maybe used that I think is kind of special that people might want, or something that just needs a new home, or it's a unicorn. You know, it's something really cool, like a class project that I had left over. So I've got several. I've got some from, I pretty much have one or two from almost every class. The only classes that I never have them from is Jackie Duplessis, because we don't distribute kits. You have to be there for those. So we don't have Jackie Duplessis kits. But pretty much everybody else, if there's ever one or two left, then I have them. And normally there's at least one, because we always have one extra, because I'm always worried that something's going to happen to one. So Summer House Stitch Works is the first weekend of August. A number of you have already signed up. and you've paid a deposit last year, tomorrow I'll be sending out your invoice to the rest of it. You can pay it whenever, but just so that you know, it's still the first weekend of August. There is some pre-stitching which I'm going to send out this week, but it's not much. It's little. You'll have plenty of time. But I want you to go ahead and get your reams and stuff booked. If you're thinking about it, that's always a really fun class, and that is my birthday weekend, and it's my double nickel. Oh, and there was something really special I wanted to show you tonight. I'll save it for next time. That I'm going to stitch on this year since it's my double nickel. And so, double nickel birthday this year. And we always have a good time. It's always Summer House Stitch Works on that weekend. It'll be at the hotel, but the shop should be open, friends. Should be open. That's our push. That's our push goal, is to get open for that. So, anyway, if you need last year's project, send me a little note. And keep an eye for alley cats and unicorns. Okay, so that's August. September is the soiree. We do have some spots open for that. And then in October, I wanted to try to do a retreat, and honestly, I just can't. A personal retreat, like one that Sassy Jacks would do, I can't, because I just need to get us open. And I can't split my focus. We'll not get there. Right now, I have to stay focused. And so I decided not to do that. We'll try to do it next year. But I invited Romy and Simona. And so they're going to be coming here in October, and they are going to have that weekend that I had booked for us. So if you had that weekend set aside, you might want to come and do Romy and Simona. I'm going to get that posted this week for signups. It'll be online. I'll post it tomorrow, so I'm not going to sending it out to everybody probably till Wednesday. So go look tomorrow and see if that's a project that you want to do. For that. Dance of the Wildflowers. That's right, Terry. Thank you. Dance of the Wildflowers. So, oh, you're going to miss my birthday. Oh, that's okay. I'll have another one. I'm pretty sure. I'll have another one. So maybe we'll all be together for my next double, which will be 66. That'll be fun. I think the doubles are fun. The last one I had was 44, and it was a pretty good year. Simona and Romy's Creations, and Simona, I think her company name really is Simona. I can't think of it. I can see it spelled. Anyway, keep an eye out for that. I will have that open for sign up by the end of the day tomorrow, so you can at least go look at the projects. And those guys, if there's a lot of you, I don't know if they do a Zoom. They do Zooms, because Romy did a Zoom this weekend. She did one yesterday. If you guys can't come and you really want to do a Zoom class this year, or even early next year, I can talk to Romy and we can get a Zoom class. It might be something different from that, but we can do a Zoom. But she's been doing hers on her own, because she did a Biscorno class Saturday. And so anyway, so that's October. November is Jackie Duplessis. A lot of people are signed up for those. Those will be, this week is class week, along with getting the Baird House done. So I'll be getting that stuff posted. And if you can ever come for a Jackie class, don't be intimidated. Definitely come. She's a great teacher. And with those classes, we have another group. We're going to actually start meeting together and working through the projects together too. So online and Zoom. And so you'll have some company getting through that. Hey, Privies and Prims. And so I think that's it. I don't think we have anything planned in December. But that's a pretty full year. This year's a little bit of a light year. Next year is a busy year. We've got both Hands on Design, Jeanette Douglas, Summer House Stitch Works. All three of those guys are coming May, June, and then August for Summer House Stitch Works. And Jackie will be here in March. March to Sassy's will always be March and October. And then she'll be here again next year in October. We'll do our soiree in September. Maybe next year in late October or November or something, we can do a Halloweeny thing together. So via Zoom. and in person. So, because I know that you guys can't all travel. And I myself, I have to be honest with you, I've not even want to go to the grocery store lately. So, about 3 weeks ago, I finally did the order online and I sent Everett to go pick it up. And it was like magic. I was like, wow. It was like when I was a kid, my parents would go away and they would come home with food. And I was like, that's fabulous. I like that thing where you pull up and they just put it in the truck. So I'm with you on not always getting out and about. Although I'm hoping to do a little bit of getting out a little bit this year. I'm getting excited about getting the shop open and then being able to do some fun stuff. So any questions, send me an email. I'll try to be watching for that. I'm not great with the phone still because it's just me. So don't take it personal. I don't screen calls. I just don't get through all the calls. So I'm much better with email. That will change when we get the shop open and we get our people back in there. So they'll be able to help me with that because it's still just me right now. And we'll be getting our helpers back before the shop ever gets open. It'll be fun. So I could ramble on about what we've got planned in there, but I won't keep you for that. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for coming back. I will try to do this again. I know I said I would last time, but I told you I was in a funk and I just didn't feel it. But I will try to do this again next week and every Sunday after that if we can. I'm going to also try to pop in and do it Friday nights because I know some of you have a church on Sunday nights and you can't make it back. Friday nights may be a little less regular, but I'll try to tell you in advance that we're going to do it, like a couple days in advance so that we can do it. And Learning Stitches, I'm recording tomorrow to get the next lesson out for Sheila so that she doesn't have to go it on her own. And for everybody else, there's 3 of those left, so we'll get those 3 out. And then I am scheduled to teach again at Campbell. Did I say that right? Campbell Folk Art School in Brasstown, which is where Allie is. So they asked me to come back again next year, so I'm going back next year. I'm going to teach needlepoint again. I wish Allie would come back. Allie is living her best life. She is loving life down there. I saw a picture of her yesterday on Instagram, and if you want to follow her on Instagram, I think it's called Counterbalance, like Allie is in the word balance. And I think that's a weaving kind of term. But it was a picture of her with her goats, one of her goats that she used the milk from her goat to make some ice cream, and some the lace that you make with the little bobbin lace. She's been doing bobbin lace, and she's made 2 quilts. I mean, and she's got a full-time job down there. So she's living her best life. And the family that she lives with a young family. They just had a new baby. So her goats had goats, and her family that she lives with had another kid. So I think she's really happy, and I wouldn't drag her back out of that. Everybody deserves to be happy. I'm happy. I'm living my best life right now too. It took me a long time to get here, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm glad that you guys are around to enjoy it with me. Yeah, Lisa, emails are great. You can send me an email. You can send it to Sassy Jack Stitchery. We are at gmail.com, or I'm trying to convert over to our own email and get away from Gmail. Hello at sassyjackstitchery.com is the other one, so you can try that one too. And I've got lots of new samplers if you're interested in that. I'll start sharing some of those as we go along, but I'll quit yammering on, and I enjoyed it. Recommendations. So if you're looking for something to watch, I don't know how many of you have access. I watch it on Hulu, which I got Hulu. I forgot why we got it, but Only Murders in the Building. It's got Steve Martin and maybe it's Martin Shore. I can't remember the other guy's name, and Selena Gomez. One of the best shows. It's really funny, really good. Steve Martin is, he's a funny guy. Let's see. Videos or floss tubes. If you haven't been watching the First Lady series with linen and flax, linen and threads, linen and floss, you know what I'm talking about. As I'm choking because I don't talk that much anymore. That's a really good one. So go watch Rachel. Really, really good. I'll post a link below. I think it might be time for me to go. So I loved it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you back again soon. Have a really good week. Bye.